Marius, thank you very much for taking time to come today and speak to us.
Thanks for having me.
It's very nice meeting you, but for those who have not had the pleasure of meeting you, tell us briefly who you are and what you do.
I'm Marius Galdikas. I'm the chief executive of Connectpay, a financial platform for the online business. I've been in financial sector since 2015, and then, until then I was all in technology. So fintech sort of fits me well.
Right. Okay. So help me understand, what is the core value proposition of Connectpay?
So what we are focusing on is we are focusing on enabling online businesses to embed financial services into their offering, right? Make it part of their offering. I think in general it's a broader conversation, where the financial sector is going, but I think embedded finance is moving forward at a very rapid pace because. What I use as an example, right? Like, why do I need an app from my bank, right? Financial services or payments are just commodity. It should just happen seamlessly on wherever I am, right? If I'm on a social media platform, if I'm on a marketplace shopping or whatever, right? Payment is just a transaction that needs to happen right there and then, and I should not be worried or bothered with having another channel where I go and check my balance, essentially, right?
Now, there's a number of similar solutions coming up in the market regularly. Tell me what makes Connectpay different?
So I think we're playing in the space of embedded finance banking as a service, which it's not clear cut from regulatory point of view, right? So what we took as a basis for developing our product was we went back to the, as my father says, to the Adam and Eve, right? So what really is it? What are the fundamentals? How do we construct a product and not get into a problem later down the road with, suddenly we're not complying with something or it's not exactly complying. So what we took a look at is fundamentally a financial service requires a license, right? And we are a licensed institution, first and foremost, which means we are the ones providing the financial service, right? So there should be no doubt about that. It's our license, it's our service, and so it's our complete responsibility in front of the customer who procures our services and in front of the regulator. So with this mindset, right, we moved forward and we developed our product whereby we enable online businesses to embed financial services simply by plugging in, the APIs and allowing them to choose whichever services they want. But we do not rely on our customer to do anything for the benefit of maintaining the financial service because we do everything under the hood seamlessly. And by everything meaning, security, compliance, fraud management, and so on and so forth, all of the regulatory obligations, regulatory reporting, and so on and so forth.
Okay, now you mentioned regulation, and what I'd like to ask you is, how does Connectpay balance this regulatory compliance, also as you say, so that further down the line you don't find yourself in a compliance issue? So how do you balance remaining compliant with regulation, managing changing regulation, and still being innovative?
So look, I think it is obvious. Regulation is hindering innovation. It's just unavoidable, right? I think part of the challenge that we have here in Europe, being licensed in Europe, our regulation is very prescriptive, right? It's a lot more rules-based rather than principle-based, right? I think in Europe, the regulatory environment is difficult because from policy making point of view and governance development point of view, it is the institutions are attempting to prescribe how how the consumers should be protected or how the financial market should be protected, rather than focusing and emphasizing on the key objective, because the key objective of the regulation is twofold: protect the consumers and protect the integrity of the financial system. Right? That's the principle that it all should be based around. But when we start developing rules, specific rules, suddenly you end up with a situation where, well, for my business model or for my customer, maybe none of these rules really apply 100%. So what do I do then, right? So I have a list of rules, none of them apply to me 100%. So am I now non-complying, right, by supporting this business model, or am I suddenly going wild, right, with innovation? So which is it? Am I innovating, or am I not complying, and do I want to take the risk? So I think having appreciated the complexity of the regulatory market, I'll be very honest, we also struggle, right? We also struggle in complying, meaning finding ways to work in a compliant manner. In this ever-changing digital world, we struggle with finding ways rapidly, efficiently, having answers to our customers really fast. Okay, we can do it this way or another way. And it is a challenge. I think everybody faces the same challenge. I'm also on the board of Fintech Hub, the biggest fintech association in the Baltics and I think in Europe as well. I think all of the institutions have the same struggle right now. So how do I apply these rules to my customer, to my product, right? And what if none of the rules actually apply to me 100%?
Right.
What do I do then? So I think we're in the same boat, right? We're continuously investing a lot into understanding the processes and going back to the roots, right? Going back to the principles. Yeah. Protect the consumer, protect the system.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk a bit more about embedded finance, because it's a trend that has been coming up in the market for a number of years. Tell me, what is it that excites you most about the prospect of embedded finance, and what do you see your customers being able to do with the embedded finance capabilities that you provide?
Yeah. So what excites me is, as I mentioned, right? I think consumers, and this applies to online businesses mainly, right? So consumers, every one of us, right? We're online. We're on social media platforms. We're on marketplaces and whatnot. There's a lot of new businesses going up online that are platforms that connect buyers and sellers, investors and borrowers, and so on and so forth. So fundamentally, what's happening is, we spend more time online, be that investing or buying or selling, just working online, and financially, it's becoming cumbersome, right? So to connect buyer and seller, essentially, when you buy something, you issue an invoice, then somebody needs to receive the invoice, somebody needs to pay for it, and so on and so forth. So I think where the world is going, because we're going into, and this is the real web, like the 2.0, right? This is the old web 2.0, where people are connected online, right? This is where finance is like the standard finance of invoicing and paying and whatnot is sort of dying, because everybody's on these platforms, and embedded finance allows to get rid of this complex process and allows to just simply be the facility of exchanging value between participants in a specific platform. So with the internet going this way of new platforms for everything that connect different types of consumers, I think embedded finance is an inevitable solution, right, that businesses will need. And that's what excites me. I think that eventually, as I mentioned, right, eventually it should just be something very seamless and simple for me to transact online without going to my channel of my bank or my account, or which account or which card do I use right now and whatnot. Everything seamlessly gets integrated into this daily platforms.
It sounds extremely exciting. Now, you keep making reference to simplicity, to seamlessness, and of course, this interview wouldn't be complete if we weren't touching upon AI and automation. So tell me a little bit of how does automation and AI help enable that seamlessness that Connectpay is trying to bring to their customers?
Well, automation is definitely key in this sector. Like financial business is a high volume transactional business, right? You can only be successful if you really scale, right? If you process huge volumes of of payments and huge volumes of customers and whatnot. For that, you need automation, right? So for example, what we have developed is for our customers, which are platforms, then B2B2C onboarding, so onboarding of the end consumer, which is a private individual, the process we have automated completely 100%. So we have about 8 seconds of systems working out the details of the customer and fully onboarding a customer, individual customer, and opening an account for them, right? So just 8 seconds and nobody touches it, right? Obviously, that's the happy path, which we're seeing right now. We're hitting about 95% of onboardings are straight-through processing, where the customer is immediately onboarded, immediately gets an account, and can start using the service. So it's very important. Automation is very important. It's just inevitable. Otherwise, it can be too expensive. When it comes to AI, right? I think what we can use as a financial institution is maybe a little bit of machine learning, right? To crunch the data for fraud management, maybe have instruments to read, extensive documents. So when you're onboarding a business customer, obviously you get articles of association, and then it's like 50 pages long. Somebody needs to read through it, find something in there, come up with next questions, that some additional documents that you need to confirm, right? So for the purposes of crunching through a lot of documents, information that the customers provide for us, you can use machine learning for that. However, I'm a little bit skeptical and worried on that, because you can construct your solution that way, right? But then when the regulator comes, right, you're suddenly relying on something that you cannot explain, right? So, for example, when a specialist of Connectpay reviews the document, right? So the specialist is obviously trained, has a training plan, has the required competences, can explain why he came to one or another conclusion, can write up why he decided to make this or that decision, right? Whereas with machine learning or AI, you don't get that. So it can be a really big problem explaining to auditors, for example, or the regulators, why you came to one or another conclusion, right? If you use the AI, that does not exist, right? Yes. And then the next time you plug in the same document, you might get a different outcome. So that's why for financial services, it's AI and machine learning is more of something that gives you convenience, but you cannot rely on it, right? Right. So that's with machine learning in financial institutions. I'm still a little bit skeptical. Obviously, volumes, fraud management, identifying patterns. That's machine learning, has been there for forever. I think it works. Same thing what we use, for example, we invest heavily into information security. I mean, we're on the border. We're continuously being attacked by bad actors in the digital space. So like analysis of information security logs, right? We have billions and billions of lines of events that are happening on the infrastructure. So analysis of those events can only be done, honestly, right now with machine learning. Yeah. But that's not AI, right? It's still machine learning.
Right. Okay, now let's shift gears a little bit. You're going to be taking the stage at Baltic Fintech Days in just under a month here in Vilnius. Can you give us a sneak peek of what you're going to be sharing on stage?
I won't. What I can say is hopefully it's going to be 3 or 4 slide stops. Hopefully I will try to come up with an interesting problem or give a sort of zoomed out view of where we are in the financial services sector. Where are the institutions versus the consumers? Where am I in this zoo of different financial institutions, payment instruments, and so on and so forth? Why am I alone against all these institutions? And maybe the setup should be turned on its head, right? Why my wallet is in my pocket, right? Why isn't that enough, right? And my phone, right, is my wallet now, right? And it is my digital identity as well. That should be completely sufficient, rather than having all these different agreements for all these different accounts that I have with different financial institutions. I said I won't, but I just did.
Now you gave us a little.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough to
Maybe
get
a little
people
bit too much.
hooked on coming and hearing you. And then just to close, as we've been preparing the Baltic Fintech Days, we keep getting interest from delegations and from other countries that are keen to see what's happening in the Baltics, are keen to see what's in the water that is creating some of the largest scaling companies in the world. What would you say to anyone that has an interest in exploring the Baltic markets as a target for partnerships, for collaboration? What would be the one word in which you would describe it that would cause them to come and?
It's not one word. I've always been thinking that Lithuania had like 3 unique selling propositions, right? But in terms of fintech, what we need to understand is Baltics is part of the integrated single European market, right? So if you establish here a partner with a company that is licensed here, you gain access to the entirety of the European market. So that's number one. And number two, what I'm really proud about, the Baltics. And now it's not just Lithuania, right? I see a lot of collaboration between the Baltic states. There is a huge talent pool that naturally ignites innovation. I think us meeting here and meeting at the event, a lot of people from this sector in the Baltics coming together. It's just in these conversations, in these events, innovation happens. People share ideas. Somebody goes home with a different view on how to do things, or maybe somebody goes home with a completely fresh new business idea. And I think it's very beneficial. So for anyone who comes here from outside, I think you'll have a really great and productive time.
Yeah, I'm grinning because you've given us a perfect soundbite, which is a talent that ignites innovation. Yeah. That's fantastic. Well, we're going to use that.
Okay, feel free.
Marius, thank you very much for coming and spending time with us, and we look forward to seeing you at Baltic Fintech Days.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.